Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff, and this is Gabriella Macari from Macari Vineyards. I'm doing this chat to give people who are quarantined some fresh air and some virtual sunshine. And Gabriella was not able to be to the vineyard because she's redoing their website. So we're chatting from her place, and we're going to discuss why, because I thought it was very important to get Gabriella on here to show the state of small businesses and New York wineries. So, Gabby, introduce yourself and tell us what you do and about the winery.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Jeff, for doing this.
It's my pleasure.
I've been following along, and I think you're bringing a lot of happiness to some gloomy days. So thank you, first and foremost. I'm third generation of the Macari family who started the winery. My grandfather is from Italy, and he made wine in his basement in Corona, Queens.
Funny.
Growing up, didn't even think about that name. But grew up in Queens and made wine and worked in real estate. So worked from nothing and created a real estate business, but always had the passion and the dream of making his own wine. And so he found a farm on the North Fork in the town of Mattituck. It was an old potato farm, and it laid fallow from when he purchased it until 1995, when my parents, my brother Joe and I, moved out and started planting. So my brother Joe and I always kind of joke that it's child labor. But anyways, we started planting in 95, and the first thing my dad did was learn about composting and taking care of the land. So we are celebrating 25 years of composting, which is amazing, and we were planning to do a big event for it, but we're going to have to do something virtual or something. But anyways, that's the vineyard. I think many people, I'm watching people join, many people who are joining right now have been to the vineyard.
Okay.
And it's great seeing everybody. So
can you tell us where Mattituck is, like in relation to I should have put a map up behind me, I'm sorry.
I have a map of Burgundy, so it's even worse. But this is
there you go.
The Hamptons. I always do the Hamptons are down here, and then Montauk Point. This is Orient Point, and then you have like Southold here and Mattituck's here. And the beautiful thing about the vineyard is that the vineyard is on the Long Island Sound. So we are directly on the water. You can see Connecticut from the vineyard on a clear day. And it's just we're very lucky to have sort of like one biosphere, one area where we're growing grapes, and where the vineyard is. It's not, 5 acres here and 10 acres here.
Right.
It's really one ecosystem, one farm. So that's something that we're really, really blessed with.
And that's kind of your grandfather's vision of him being smart and getting out there, and that's from him, right?
For sure. Yeah, he really fell in love with the property. He fell in love with the water. And he'll tell you to this day that the water was kind of what sealed the deal. And for us, it's just a perfect site for viticulture. We have sandy loam soil, so literally anytime it rains, and because we're a little elevated, Long Island's super flat, but our property is a little bit elevated, water just drains right out. So if it rained, this week, it's just, there are no puddles. And so that is really lucky.
Always one of my questions of what makes you guys unique. And so it is your soil and your proximity to the water.
Right, for sure.
Do you get
100%.
any, how like in Italy, you sometimes get a little brininess? Does that happen at all with you guys from the salt?
Was that?
A little brininess if you're on the ocean?
We don't have any salinity issues with the soil. Yeah. Australia, I know does. Italy, sure. Yeah. But lucky, we just had the soils tested. It was a major project, and they came back really, really in good shape. So some micronutrients needed here and there, but for the most part, NPK, like everything came out great. So we're really lucky.
So tell me a little bit about you, because you do many things, and I want to hear where you are in your MW track and what it's like growing up as you did, and then how you're doing it professionally. Like, what's your job?
Sure. Yep. No, I don't know. No, so I was actually I'm in Brooklyn right now, and I was studying for the tasting portion of the MW. I passed the theory portion last year.
Oh, great.
And I was ready to go 2 months out, and they canceled the exam for another year. So it's okay. All things happen for a reason. And
Yeah.
kind of just went from studying every day to working every day. We just really transitioned to e-commerce. And we've done a lot of things to keep the entire team working, which is from the day that we knew something was going on, that we were going to keep our entire team working. And so we had to get very innovative and creative very quickly.
So what are you doing? The tasting room is open, or people can walk up and buy, and then what are you doing with the e-commerce?
So first and foremost, we're encouraging everybody to buy online direct from us. There are some state limitations, so there are some states that we can't ship to.
Okay.
So we're working on opening new states, but it can be really expensive. So that's an issue. But for the most part, we can ship to the tri-state area at least, and a lot of our customers come from this area. So we're very lucky. And so we're working on e-commerce, and obviously the most important thing was the safety of our team.
Yeah.
And making sure we can protect our team, because New York deemed us an essential business.
Right.
So we had many meetings and many discussions, and decided to open a pop-up window.
Oh.
Which was great. So we have kind of like a pickup window at the tasting room. So you drive up, if you most likely have placed your order, and then you come and just pick up your wine.
Okay. My brother's in Colorado, and he was saying he went to McDonald's. I was like, how does that work? He goes, you drive up to the window and you get your food. So like that.
I know. I think if we were in the summer, I would say let's just do a drive-through, but I don't want anyone to have to stand outside carrying cases. So we have a pickup window, and we have local delivery guys that have been working for us for years, and a lot of them, one is in high school, and someone's coming back from college and bored and needs work, and someone else has been working in the tasting room with us, and they're delivering for free throughout the North Fork, which has been amazing. The customer feedback, people are like, wow, I can call Macari Vineyards and get my wine in 2 hours. It's been amazing.
Yeah, so, Christina, one of your apparently customers is on here, and she said your staff is great, and they had zero contact for picking up. So
that's so sweet.
You're doing it right.
That's great.
Tell me how. So I buy your wine. I've always had your wine on my buy the glass list at Waverly.
Thank you.
And there is, it's my pleasure. I can never know the exact wording, but there's a thing that allows me to order from you direct, and you as a New York State farm can bring it in to me. How does that work, and how is that different now, if at all?
So there's the Farm Protection Family Act. I believe it was in '74, and it was a way to sort of like stimulate business for New York agriculture, where you can sell direct to restaurants. So we're very blessed, and that's kind of how we built the wholesale business here in New York. We also now work with Wilson Daniels. Their team is amazing. And so they have 5 of our top wines in their portfolio, and really have helped me sort of just expand. And, we always say that once people had this taboo about local wine for such a long time, and you can tell me, but like once the wine's in your glass, and once you tell people, then, it's that kind of bias goes away.
Oh yeah, people. So, I find it funny who orders. A lot of the French people, funny enough, when they come to the restaurant, order like, local wine. I want a glass of that. And I got to tell you, the best compliment is when people order a second glass or a second bottle, and they always do. It's a good price, and it's really good wine. And I always tell people, no, you should drink something local. I'm a firm believer in that.
And we've been working together for so long, so it's a testament to that, and we really appreciate it.
Exactly.
Yeah, honestly.
So are you still delivering to retail stores in the city?
A little bit, yeah. We did a major marketing push. We worked with Len Thompson. I wonder if he's on here. Maybe he's here. We worked with Len Thompson. He's great, and he kind of encouraged this open local wine night. So we did #OpenLocalWine, and the feedback was enormous. We had an incredible kind of burst of wow, kind of like an awakening. We should be drinking local wine right now in this moment, because our dollars do actually affect and impact the community that's in our backyard. Right. So we have 44 people on the payroll, and that's our goal. It's like, let's keep everyone working, and just, we have to shift to e-commerce and get support from retail as well to make that happen.
So I was talking to somebody the other day after we spoke this week, and it's kind of like, if you're going to spend money on wine, spend it locally, and there's a few less people competing for your unemployment dollars in the pool. You know, I always, you know, spend locally
That's
first.
actually really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So talk about the what grapes do you grow, and then what wines do you make, because there's a pretty big selection.
So we have, you know, when we first started, it was a lot of experiment, but predominantly Cornell University told us to plant Merlot and Chardonnay. And since then, my father has really fallen in love with Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc. We were one of the first to bottle 100% Cabernet Franc in 1997.
Delicious.
And that wine has been one of our flagships since we started. So Cabernet Franc for sure, Sauvignon Blanc for sure, and then we experiment. So I think you've had our Syrah. There's this one little block of land at the top north end of the property, and it was battered by deer for years.
Oh.
And so we never made Syrah, and now we actually are able to make Syrah because we put some deer fencing up, and the vines have kind of recuperated. So the vines up at that end are really producing some phenomenal Syrah. We have all the champagne grapes, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, obviously Chard, and little experiments here and there. But I would say, like, the core, we really, really have fallen in love with making Sauvignon Blanc and also Cab Franc.
Marquita Levy is on here, and she loves your horses, which I'd like you to tell me about. She has
Sorry, I was charging my phone.
She has a list of names for potential kittens, and Macari is on that list for a future cat name.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Can you tell us about horses?
There's actually someone that named their son Macari.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. It is a good word. As a word, as a pet name, it's pretty good.
The horses was a complete experiment. I was drinking a lot of sparkling Cab Franc from the Loire Valley, mostly Pet Nat in 2013. And I fell in love with one, and I called my father, and it was the middle of harvest. So we'd already picked 4 sparkling and most of the white. And I said, we need to make a sparkling Cab Franc. And he agreed crazily. He's like, no problem, let's go. We ran out of nets, which were covering this one little spot of Cabernet Franc next to our pigs. We have a bunch of Italian black pigs because my brother studied in Italy, and he loves pigs. Anyways, so we had this block that was rotting, actually, because the birds were attacking the fruit. My dad's like, yeah, you want to make something? Go ahead, take the rotting block, you know? So I'm like, okay, thanks. So we cleaned the fruit by hand, picked by hand. And I collaborated, you know, I just had this idea, and I spoke to my brother and Kelly Koch, our winemaker, and we made the first, we were intending to make a traditional method sparkling. And I started giving it away to my friends. I see my friend Kira's on. I gave Kira and her fiance Will a bottle, and they were like, don't touch it. Don't disgorge it. Don't add dosage. It's perfect. So it's not a pet nat. It's a traditional method that's just not disgorged at this time. We may tweak the formula.
So the second fermentation is in the bottle. Oh, wow. That's cool. And how it's pink, right? How do you get it pink from a red grape?
Well, so it sits on the skins, obviously, and it's still, you know, it's still Cabernet Franc, so it does have a different profile than if it was Pinot, for example. So it's not as delicate and strawberry. There is like a little bit of an herbal component that I really love. It's not your traditional sparkling grape, you know.
Yeah.
And if it's not pink enough, you know, sometimes we'll add a little Cabernet Franc. But for the most part, it's kind of a very. Then I started reading about col fondo in Italy, and I'm like, oh, we're making col fondo because it's the same thing, you know. It's this like non-disgorged traditional method prosecco, and so we didn't realize, but I think we're doing the same thing.
That's fabulous that you go back to your roots that way.
Right.
My friend Deb, she's a regular at the Waverly Inn also, just bought your Stuck at Home 6-pack. What is that?
Thank you, Deb. Thank you so much.
What is that?
We decided like right away. I had a call with one of our graphic designers and said, you know, it's hard. It's sometimes hard for people to pick what they want on the website. So they're like, what's going on? We're actually launching a chat function so you can chat with us on the website. But basically, before that's launched, I figured, you know, let's just do a 6-pack of like the greatest hits. So it's a red blend, a Chard, stainless steel, and the rosé.
That's
And that's
perfect.
been going really well.
Yeah, because sometimes people want what, depending on what they're cooking and what they're in the mood for. And I also, some of the stores that are kind of selling retail have said that their mystery package is actually going really well because you know it's going to be good, and it's like a mixed bag. So that's a brilliant idea.
Right. Yeah. So we have a rosé 6-pack, an all red 6-pack, and then it was hard. We launched the rosé in the middle of the crisis. It was really, we had all these big plans for launching our rosé, and we have magnums coming. But I think, you know, we're blessed with this loyalty from people who have actually visited and know us, and we're blown away with that.
It's funny to say that, and I want to ask you that Christina said buy a sweatshirt. Is that sweatshirt for sale?
It is, yeah.
Okay, do that too.
Well, I have a hoodie for sale, not this one.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is funny to say, but I think you're clearly your wines are good, but I think that your success is equally due to your customer service and your family approach, because everybody's so nice and take really good care of everybody.
We have an amazing team. So if you go to the tasting room on a Saturday, I mean, my mom's there bussing tables, which I think she's watching. She's gonna get mad.
Awesome.
But we're there, you know. So we're really trying to create that. The fact that, you know, you need to know the people that you're buying things from. So I strongly believe in that. And people ask me all the time, how do you buy wine? And it's really hard nowadays because you don't know what vineyard practices you're supporting or what work environment you're supporting. And so I tell people flat out, you know, we're vineyard first, always. We do not use herbicide, you know, and we farm at the most expensive way that we can farm because this is what feels right and this is what feels normal to us. And we wouldn't have it any other way. And I think that people have really connected with that and understood that. And, you know, my days, people are like, well, what are you doing these days during all of this? And a lot of it's customer service and reacting and emailing, and our team, our managers, I think, are also watching, and I just saw them check in, but they're picking up the phone and calling all of our members. And that phone call, hey, how are you? Are you okay? Thinking about you. You have some wine here for pickup. I can ship it to you. It's been amazing.
There's Maureen Dubard, who is in Bergerac, I chatted with earlier in the week or last week, and she always says, she goes, I've been to their house, they live in the vineyards, and she's like, we're not organic, but we're not spraying stuff. We don't want our kids running around because we live in the vineyards. That's the same with you guys. And then I also like to tell people that, well, Serge Auchard from Chateau Musard years ago, he said having a bottle of my wine is like having a conversation with me. And I think that's a really special way of communicating with the family and the winemaker and the place. You kind of visit a place virtually by having a glass of wine. But I always tell people, if you can't find Macari, or you're in a wine store you're not familiar with, go and ask either the sommelier or the wine clerk. I'd like a small family produced wine that is made by a small winery, and that support the small businesses like that.
Thank you. Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, we get a lot of those phone calls. Hi, my name is Joe. I have a wine shop in Westchester. Someone's requesting your wine, you know, and that helps so much. It really does. It means a lot to us for sure.
It's snowing or hailing or something here. It looks like snow coming down. So tell me a little bit about what you would normally be doing this time of year and how the quarantine has affected you, aside from scrambling to get the website. Like, what is happening in the vineyards and how you're able to keep everybody there?
Sure. Normally we're focused on hospitality, which has been such a major transition. So we just had a massive team meeting, and the team meeting was, how can we be the best at welcoming people into the tasting room and making sure that they feel comfortable, and making sure our number one is education too. So making sure that everyone that sits down in the tasting room is educated. We also were trying to figure out how to deal with the traffic flow. So
while you tell that story, I have to go inside because it's starting to rain. Okay. So ignore me for a second.
Okay, I might have to charge my phone too. But basically, we decided that we wanted to do the best that we could. It's strange without Jeff here for hospitality, and we were focused before
It's
on.
snowing. It's snowing in Connecticut.
I can't focus.
It's so weird. I'm sorry.
Hi, everybody. A lot of people here.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay, so we were focused on hospitality, number one. And in the vineyard, my brother just finished pruning, and he had a great team, and he finished a little early. So he's tying canes and cordon. We spur and cane prune depending on the actual vine. So he's tying canes, and right now, number one, what they're doing is repairing poles. So we've had these poles in the ground since 1995, and some of them are falling apart and deteriorating. So the Vineyard Work is, there's this hashtag going on, still farming, and we are definitely still farming. Everyone's being really safe and separated, but we're still farming. And bud break. Can you hear me?
Are you, because Roussillon, or Languedoc, the vines are like, they have like about an inch in the leaves. Bordeaux had almost a frost, and they're just getting bud break. Where are you guys?
So we haven't seen bud break yet. It's around the corner. We're still tying, we're finishing tying down, and just kind of doing a little maintenance around the vineyard. And what will happen, because we are in a wet maritime climate, what will happen immediately is that we'll start seeing weeds. And this is our number one, this is the number one thing that we need to look out for. So weed control and weed management. Obviously, if weeds are under control, pests are a little bit more under control. If weeds are under control, the humidity within the canopy is a little bit more under control, and it really helps with mildew management. So our number one for the next probably month will be weed management. We do that with a tool called the Clemens. Mm-hmm. So it's a tractor that actually, well, it takes a while, and it's, you know, a lot more difficult than the other terrible methods that people are using, but we are definitely really focused on that.
Is that the thing that tills under it, kind of bumps around the vines?
Yep.
Okay. Can you, just to back up a little bit, because there are some people from around the world that are on here, explain, if people don't know anything about North Fork, what the climate and soils are like in a very broad term?
Unpredictable. Yeah, my brother just joined. He's a vineyard manager. He'd be able to tell you a little bit more, but it's funny. He and I talk all the time. You really don't know. You don't know if you're going to get a hurricane in October. We're in the hurricane path, right? So I was talking to Cornell about this. We're actually in this pathway, and we're a peninsula that sticks out, right? So there's even more probability of disaster. But we've been super lucky. Last year was phenomenal, and then, you know, the years, there's a massive variation. So when you talk about vintage variation, Long Island needs to be up there. We have seen incredible vintages like 2010, where the grapes came in perfect and the sugars were ideal. And then last, you know, 2018, for example, we're not releasing a red from 2018. It's just not happening. It's not up, they're not up to our standards. It was very cold, it was rainy, there's no pigment, the anthocyanin didn't develop in the berries, there's really no pigment, there was no color. So it's definitely unpredictable,
But that's interesting for following a small business family winery, that if the wine's not up to snuff, you guys aren't going to sell it.
No, and that's been my dad forever. My dad, you know, I was actually, who is it? Out in Oregon, they work with Wilson Daniels. I think Maggie Harrison said, I dump more wine than I sell. Mm-hmm. And I actually like related to her in some way, you know, and it's this kind of, you know, it's your product, it's going out into the world. And, you know, if it's not the way you want it to be, it shouldn't be released. Yeah. So there is a bulk market, but it's really not.
Say that again?
It's not great. There's a bulk market that you could use, but it's not.
Yeah. Jane Anson on Twitter has a little thread going, because she just did a tasting of some like 11s in Bordeaux, I think. And she was saying, you know, if it's a off vintage or a less great vintage, that you drink
it earlier.
You saw that?
I saw your tweet this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? I really think that's a way, because so many people think good and bad vintage, and it's like, no, if it's a bad vintage, drink it earlier, and if it's a great vintage, hold on to it. Do
Well,
you
I was just in Chablis, and same thing. So everyone's saying to drink the 18s before the 17s. They're
Okay.
just more generous. There was a little bit more ripeness, and the 17s are taut. It's not that, 18 was a bad vintage by any means, but just you should probably consume the 18 before the 17.
Right.
And we did that with the Bergen Road. So we kind of held back the 10 because we loved it. And then we released the 15.
Oh, you do? I find that very impressive. Chateau Musard does that. They'll release them when they think it's correct, and not everybody has the luxury or the history of back vintages and everything to do that. But that's really cool that you guys do that. And that wouldn't be every wine of that year. It just depends which wines.
Yeah, we've done it for sparkling before. And I think, the big, bold, like if we can make a big, bold red, which is, seldom, then that's when we really kind of say, okay, does this need more time, or is it ready?
Yeah. Well, I'm getting to the half-hour mark, so I want to kind of keep it short so people don't get bored and tune out. But does anybody have any questions, or do you want to offer any advice or anything to say this time? It's a weird time, and this project has been fun for me to reach out and see friends. I'm telling everybody, get a glass of wine or a sandwich and make a date to just sit in front of the computer or phone and have a FaceTime with a pal, because it really makes a difference to get out and see your friends.
For sure. I think the number one thing I would say is just support local if you can. If you can't, maybe share a post from a local winery. We're working around the clock to keep everyone active, to keep our team as number one priority for us. And, we are hopefully going to do another #open local wine event. So hopefully we can encourage people to seek out a local wine. I'm selling direct from the website. We're doing free shipping. And then I know you mentioned earlier, my friend Lauren at Tribeca Wines is selling wine.
Yep.
And, Jesse at Union Square always has us in stock, Chelsea Wine Vault. I'm missing people, but still, there are ways to find wines. And if you haven't had our wines in a while, I think it's time to revisit. Wines are always changing, and we're getting better and better every year.
And you said there's a thing on the website where they can ask questions?
Not yet. It's coming.
Not yet? Okay. But I bet you there's an email link too on the website, if nothing else.
And you can direct message. I mean, I've been selling wine from direct message, Facebook chat, text, email. Anyway, DM me. I'll sell you some wine. No, it's crazy. It's out of control.
I really want to emphasize that to everybody else. Do support your local wineries. And if you're not able to buy something, tell your friends, share a tweet or a FaceTime or a Facebook message, whatever. But it's really important to support these guys. We're in New York, and we're all in this together. And it's really important to support the local people and keep them from laying off their employees.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Stay well.
Good to see your face.
Thank you for your support I think I was trying to count and I couldn't even figure it out. It was like, at least 7 years, 6 years.
Always. It's been 9 years that I've been there, and almost since I took over wine directing, like 7.5. So yeah.
Wow.
But it's been a pleasure. You're a dream to work with. Your family's great. Say hi to everybody.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll be direct. And we'll see you sooner rather than later in person.
Okay. I hope so. Stay well.
Take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.